go into competitions, or we'll talk about Studio 21, because we'll talk about why they can work for you, why certain competitions can be of benefit, not just for winners and finalists, but also in general. But it is about being wary about all competitions, because like we said, there's a whole market out there of people taking advantage. And I even struggle. I've had a lot of people ask me whether I can do a Scribe Lounge competition, because obviously we have a lot of writers come through. And it's just about connectivity and helping as many people as possible for me. Whereas Studio 21 is slightly different, isn't it? Because it's not, say, about prize money. It's slightly different. So tell us a bit about, anyway, Studio 21 and kind of why it's slightly different.
Yeah, it's really specific,
Yeah.
which is
It's
kind of it might just be worth kind of putting it into context. So, as I'm sure most of your community know, I'm the founder and CEO of Script Angel, and Script Angel provides script development services and coaching services to writers, and also sometimes to producers. Studio 21 is a completely different entity. It is a production company which I co-founded with my business partner, David Jenkinson. David is also the co-founder and managing director of C21 Media. So C21 Media are a bit like Broadcast, if you don't know them, but international. So they're in the business of the news of the industry. That's their, and they also run events all over the world. So the biggest one is Content London, which happens in December in London, and about 2,000 producers attend that, and the sessions are all kind of commissioners from all over the world, all broadcasters, all platforms, all come to Content London, and that's a very industry focused event, and that's one of C21's events. So that's David's background, is very much industry and connections within that part of the industry, and obviously my background is scripted development and writers and projects. So between us, we founded Studio 21 because I was helping him run a C21 Media script comp, and then the winner of that comp was sort of getting picked up by whoever happened to be the partner on the comp that year, and it all seemed a bit kind of random, and so we decided to found Studio 21 together, and move the script competition into that space. So now the winner of the script competition is optioned by Studio 21. So the winner receives a £10,000 option prize. So that is, it's non-returnable. So you keep all of that 10,000 regardless of what happens with your project and development of that project. Even if we pick it up and then it goes into turnaround, we don't ask for the money back. That's yours. But it effectively buys us as a production company an option on the work.
And so that's immediately the difference, isn't it? Is just knowing that your project is optioned by a production company. It's not just an endorsement that you're kind of given a little floret to put on and then go off and kind of try and convince the next person, which is still, what we all have to do. But the beauty of certain competitions, including this one, is that, isn't it? That's a direct connection. And so presumably from that option, as a production company, the material will be worked into a position where it's ready to be taken out to town, taken out to broadcasters and streamers.
So because we recognise, because we're quite a new indie, very early stages still for us in terms of the industry. We have great relationships, but we don't have a track record of production. So all of the projects, we go and seek the right co-producing partner for that project, in consultation with the writer always, about who that partner might be, and then we go into a co-development and co-production deal with a more established indie that has a track record of delivering, particularly ideally delivering the kind of genre that project is.
It's just it's having that exposure, isn't it, to the industry? Because that's, again, just going off what I hear all the time and the feedback I get is that writers are desperate to be connected to the industry in any way possible. And what people always want is is for it to be freely accessible and we can connect everybody. And people are always saying, oh, why don't you do huge pitching events and things like that? And then I say, and it's possible, it is possible, but at the same time, that kind of industry connection is so specific, isn't it? And it's got to be right at the right time too. That's why,
And the other thing that I really love about it, so obviously I designed it, so I should love it, is that Obviously, it's a great prize for the winner. It's a great opportunity. Your project's going to get optioned and move into development and hopefully get made. I mean, that's the intention. But for the 6 finalists, before that stage, they are invited and given a pass to Contact London to attend for the full 3 days of the conference, which is in itself an amazing networking opportunity. And then they get to stand up on stage, and one of the sessions is those finalists pitching their show.
Wow,
So,
terrifying.
yeah, well, yes.
But
I look
brilliant, but
after them.
brilliant.
I look after them. They get to do run
Yeah,
through a tech run the day before, so they're familiar with the space, and we've run the slides and all that good stuff. But also critically, it's just the icing on the cake, and it's just exposure opportunity, because actually
absolutely.
the judging panel, which includes David and I, but there'll be another kind of 4 or 6 judges who are all really senior execs, they will all have read the script. It is a script competition, so the
Yeah.
winner is judged on the script and the pitch material, not on the presentation on the day.
Gotcha, gotcha. And that's what we're hitting upon really, is this idea that there'll be people watching who I know will be like, "What's the point? If I don't win, what's the point? These things are so hard to win. Nobody ever wins." It's obviously someone does. So, but but there is an advantage, isn't there? What are the advantages for someone that enters reputable competitions in the UK? We talk about a handful of them. What's the advantage of them entering anyway, even if they don't win?
Yeah. So,
Is there one?
yeah, absolutely. So, for example, our judging panel for the last 2 years has included the brilliant Watford and Essex team, which is Emma Frost and Matthew Graham,
Yeah.
uh, who are part of Studio 21's advisory board and are on the judging panel for the script competition. So even if you don't win, they've read your material. And often what happens, as you know, is even if nothing happens with that project, if someone's really, really loves what you're doing on the page, they'll ask to meet you, and then that's the beginning of a conversation, and they'll ask you what else you're working on, and you've effectively got yourself a general
And they'll
there.
remember you as well, won't they? Because you do remember these things, especially when if you're ever in a position reading, doing script competition reading. We talked about this briefly before, didn't we? About reading high volumes of scripts is intense. It's really hard. But one thing you do is you do remember certain things, even if it's a script that wasn't right for this competition and it wasn't like, fully formed or in a place where it could move forward. If there was just something in it that stuck
Yeah,
in your mind, and the writer can really stick in your mind, can't they? And one
completely.
thing that's really interesting that you mentioned was the fact that even the young readers that are, the young script readers, they're the big guns of tomorrow, aren't they?
Absolutely are. So obviously in the immediate term, you're looking at who are the final judging panel if you get through those early rounds. And those are big names who you might otherwise not get read by in any other way. So that can be really valuable. But like I say, even if you don't appear to be getting through the rounds, as it were, someone
Yeah.
read your script, and they might remember you, and they might remember the work, and they are absolutely, and I say this about agents, the same is true. Don't go for the agents, go for the assistants, because they're the agents of tomorrow. And the same is true for script readers. Today's script readers, and I'm very conscious of this at Script Angel, that talent pool of script readers are the development execs and heads of development, heads of production companies of 5 years time.
Absolutely. I can give countless examples of people I met in my early career who were very sort of entry level script editors who are now in big jobs. And I've tried very hard to follow them and keep in contact and make sure we don't lose contact, so that,
Yeah.
I kind of keep that open. And same with agents as well. I've said it before on here, but my agent's assistant when I started with him was a lovely young guy, and he now is a powerhouse who represents like Phoebe Waller-Bridge and all sorts. And
Yeah.
he was an assistant when I started. It happens fast.
Yeah, so absolutely, there is value in even just submitting, and a script reader
Yeah,
will be anonymous to you, having looked at that, because they might remember you and the work.
and there's something to be said for a deadline too. I think the discipline of actually getting your script ready, getting it polished, getting it to the point where you're happy to submit it for a deadline. I know that sounds really easy. It's like for some
Yeah,
people it will be easy because they're organized and they don't think about it. But for others, that might be a real challenge, and it might be something they are going to have to overcome if they want to be a professional writer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the reasons we chatted a little bit earlier about why we have quite a big submission window for the Studio
That's
Kings
right. Yeah.
competition. We open it in June and we don't close till the 13th of September. And that enables me, when I kind of then do kind of shout outs about the competition being open for entries, you've actually got the best part of 3 months to get your stuff ready. I wouldn't recommend starting a project from scratch and aiming to get it ready for
That's a challenge.
but definitely give it a polish over those 3 months.
Yeah.